Hello and welcome to Building on a Budget Models. I'm Thomas and today we're going to be doing the Airfix Starter Set Challenge, in this case with the 1/72 scale RAF Red Arrows Gnat. So as this is the Starter Set Challenge, I'll only be able to use what is supplied. So there you can see the colours: silver 11, 19 red, 33 black, 34 white, Humbrol poly cement, the size 2 thickness Humbrol brush, and according to Airfix you can also use a craft knife, pair of tweezers, a nail file, some water obviously, and some kitchen paper. In order to be, resourceful as I normally am, I will also be using things from the kit, such as the plastic here. The painting instructions and the decal placement is on the back of the box here. On the inside you've got the sprues and the decals are inside there. Not actually sure. You can see there instructions if you are going to put it into a stand, which obviously I won't, since I'm only using what's in the kit. There's the pilots. Got cartograph decals here, so hopefully those are really nice to use, even if I will just be using them with water. Then we've got these sprues in here, got the clear windscreen there. It's quite nicely moulded. Wings, wheels. There's the pilots. This one here. So let's get to it. Remove a bit of spare sprue like this to give the Humbrol acrylics a really good stir before starting. It does come out quite grainy, but if you make sure that you take your time, do something like this, it should go down quite nicely with the brush. I try to be as gentle as possible when using the craft knife here. I don't like removing parts with the craft knife. At least I've got the sanding stick here to remove any of the burrs. I prefer to paint a lot of parts on the sprue. You might be of the persuasion where you will assemble the pieces and then paint them when glued together. Now sometimes you'll find that the glue will come out quite thickly. So if you put a little bit onto the tray like this, you can then use a bit of cardboard from the box to help you apply it to where it needs to go. These little paint pots fall over quite easily, so using them upturned like a little palette is also a great idea. I'm starting to put these pieces together here. I try to leave the parts where they need to be bonded unpainted to help the poly cement work as well as possible. Some parts like this, I find it's best to glue them together and then paint them afterwards, since they all need to be black. Now when it comes to the water slide decals, use the craft knife carefully so as to not tear into any others. I'm using slightly warm water here and I found that they needed about 15 seconds, but quite a long time on the paper before they would move around freely. When they moved around, I found that if you made sure the brush was really nice and clear, put down a little bit of water where they need to go and then just transfer them as carefully as you can. Now for the body here, I painted this separately. Now Airfix don't include the main colours in their instructions, so it won't actually tell you to paint this red when looking in the instructions. You need to check the back of the box for that. I think I gave this about 4 coats. I used a little bit of water to thin the paint. There are visible brush strokes, which is unsurprising really. The inside needs to be black and you also put a kind of engine part. Now then there are instructions for whether you want the wheels up or down. I was going to put the wheels down to use as many parts as possible. These sections here need to be white, however I chose to do the legs of the plane in silver as I felt that that seemed more realistic. Whether that's right or not, I don't know. Be very careful to get the numbers right here. I glued these in incorrectly first. Now this bit here underneath the seat, I painted that silver to show where the front wheel comes out from. It was quite difficult to glue the two halves of the fuselage together. If I had other things, then I might use masking tape or an elastic band or clamps to hold the body together. As it was, I just had to sit there for ages holding this plane together, and it still didn't cure very well afterwards. I really miss Tamiya extra thin cement. This bit here slots into place quite nicely. And for the wings, it's a good idea to dry fit the wings in place before adding the glue to make sure that you don't need to sand them. I found that I did before they went together quite nicely. Again, here I was holding this in place. Fortunately, there are some tabs at the front and the back where you can quite safely put glue on. Some people might choose to assemble all of this and then paint it afterwards. And there I was, holding it again. Now for these rear wing bits, I tried to remove them from the sprue apart from on the rear tabs to get the paint all around the edge. I found that these went into place without the need for any glue. This kit is over 40 years old, so there is some flash, so a sanding stick is really useful. This front bit here is a light, so I did this in silver, and a little clear part will go over that later on. The exhaust at the back is done in matte black and also fit into place with no glue. The wheels were done in matte black with silver in the centre, and they fit nicely so that there's a flat bit at the bottom where they rest on the ground. The front wheel was a little bit more fiddly, and in actual fact this leg was snapped ever so slightly. I used some poly cement to put it back together once it was in place. The other thing to remember is that these flaps that come down, they need to be red on the outside. I did silver on the inside. Then look at the decal instructions carefully once the paint and glue is all cured. Good thing about these roundels is that it doesn't matter which way up they go because they look the same, but be a bit more careful with the lettering. It's a good idea to put down a little bit of water to help you move the decal in case you don't get it in the right place straight away. Look carefully at the panel lines of the wing to get the positions exactly right, or as close as you can get it. These rear blue and white ones are probably the most difficult decal in the set because they are so large. It's very easy to get water or air trapped underneath them. Try to brush them very, very carefully whilst they're still wet. Obviously this is exactly the kind of job that you would want decal solution for. I did find that the kitchen towel was very good at soaking up some of the excess water. Be careful of touching the decals with your bare fingers as they can quite easily stick to your skin. There's the Rolls-Royce engines. Now for the canopy, I painted it on the sprue like this and then used the blunt side of the craft knife to scratch away any excess. Be very careful when doing this. Here's a little test fit just before I've put the pilots in. And then also the light cover went on the front. Use a very, very small amount of poly cement as this can haze the glass if you're not careful. I took the pilots off and held them by the feet. I mixed a little bit of white and red on the plastic part of the packaging as a sort of palette and then coloured the helmet in white. It's a good idea to start with the lighter colours. I then went on to the red jumpsuit. Ideally this would be a matte red, but I don't have matte red in the kit. I then did the breathing apparatus, gloves and boots in black. Pretty happy with that. And they fit into place without the need for any glue. This is good because if you chose that you didn't like them, you could always take them back out. Do need a bit of a firm push. And then the canopy fits on top. Finally, there is this thin pole which goes at the front. Now I found that this had the most flash out of any part in the kit. I tried scraping along the side very carefully with the craft knife. You've got to be very careful when doing things like this, as you don't want to accidentally cut it in half. There is a small groove under the nose to fit this into place, but I found that the only way it would go in is if you cut off the tab at the end. That was coloured silver, and there we have it. This really takes me back to sort of when I was first starting out building, making Airfix starter sets. I'm pretty happy with how it's turned out. I would like to build another one in the future with spray paint instead of brush paint though. Please let me know what you think down in the comments. Did you start with Airfix starter sets just like I did? What was your first one? Thanks a lot for watching. Please do like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.